There's an African proverb that I read many years ago that has stuck with me ever since. It goes, "Until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter." And it stuck with me because that was the moment that made me realize the importance of never letting anyone else write your story. And that's what I want to talk to you all tonight about. In life, there are people committed to telling you who you are, who you should be, and who you should become. But my goal tonight is to tell you, lion, pick up your pen. I want to shape this message around a particular story that takes place in the book of Acts, chapter 16. So for those of you that don't know, this follows the story of Paul and Silas. And Paul and Silas are on their journey spreading the gospel, and they're traveling from city to city. And Paul is sharing the gospel, and there's a slave woman that keeps interrupting him. And this woman is afflicted with an evil spirit. And the verse goes, "Once when we were going to the place of prayer, we were met by a female slave who had a spirit by which she predicted the future. She earned a great deal of money for her owners by fortune telling. And this woman became such an irritation to Paul that he cast the spirit out of the woman, and she becomes free of this affliction." Now, you would think that freedom from a spirit that quite literally is taking over a person and causing them to act out of character is a good thing. But the Bible goes on to say, when her owners realized that their hope of making money was gone, they seized Paul and Silas and dragged them into the marketplace to face the authorities. Now, I want to answer a few questions with this message, the first being why. Why is it important for you, lion, to pick up your pen? This excerpt answers that first question. In life, there are some people that benefit from your bondage. But the even bigger why is that even more people will benefit from your freedom. Verse 25 goes on to say, "About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. And suddenly, there was such a violent earthquake." Now, for context, Paul and Silas had been thrown into prison at this point. It says that there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once, all the prison doors flew open and everyone's chains came loose. Now, the freedom of this slave woman caused such a ripple effect so profound that it shook the very foundation of an institution built for bondage. Some of you tonight have allowed people in your lives to write your story that have a vested interest in keeping you bound, because if you were to become free and knew what you were capable of, the benefits that they reap from you would run out. Now, when it came to the slave woman being freed, leading to others being free, it didn't stop there. Later in the chapter, the jailer that is responsible for all of these prisoners, he notices that the prisoners have become free, and he falls before Paul and Silas, asking them what he must do to be saved. This leads to him and his entire household becoming saved. There is too much freedom and too much salvation on the line when you give your pen to the people banking on your bondage. I want you to repeat after me, lion, pick up your pen. How many of you know Aisha Bowe? I want you guys to respond because I want this to be interactive. A few of you. So for those of you that don't know her, Aisha Bowe, I think you can see, yes, Aisha Bowe is the first Bahamian to travel to space. Now, before she became the woman that we know today, an aerospace engineer at NASA, a serial entrepreneur responsible for raising multi-million dollars in capital, and the first person in this entire nation to traverse space, Aisha was a student struggling to get good grades. Her guidance counselor in high school, the person that is literally responsible for giving her advice on the trajectory of her life, says to her, "I recommend that you study cosmetology because you aren't that academically inclined." Now, can you imagine if Aisha Bowe listened to that advice? Aisha Bowe, who is the first Bahamian, not the first Bahamian woman, not the first Bahamian under 30, not the first Bahamian from Exuma, the first Bahamian, period. Can you imagine if she had put down her pen? Lion, pick up your pen. The second question I want to answer is how. How do I find the courage to push back against someone telling me who I should be and take control of my own story? You must connect, accept, expect, and reject. Connect with your Creator and ensure that your purpose aligns with the purpose that He has for your life. Accept that your journey won't look like anyone else's. You might be looking to others for guidance, but oftentimes you are the blueprint. Oftentimes you cannot find a journey similar to yours because you are meant to be the first. Expect obstacles. When you take control of your story, when you pick up your pen, you cannot expect smooth sailing. You will be faced with frustration, hardships, betrayals, but you can't let that stop. You have to let that fuel you. And finally, reject. Reject timelines. You are not too early. You are not too late. You are not too young. You are not too old to do what God has called you to do. How many of you remember the story of Moses? Moses and Sarah were told that they would be made into a great nation. They were well beyond the years of childbearing. But how many of you know that God's timeline defies science? Yeah. Lion, pick up your pen. Now, I want to show you a few pictures of a few individuals that you may or may not recognize. The first picture is Michael Jordan. How many of you know Michael Jordan? Of course. How many of you know that Michael Jordan was not chosen for his high school varsity team because he was considered too short and inexperienced? He is now arguably one of the greatest basketball players of our time. How many of you know Oprah Winfrey? Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first co-anchor job, with producers calling her unfit for television news. She is now arguably one of the most notable media personalities of our time. How many of you know Steve Jobs? Apple Nation, anybody? Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, his own company. He later returned, rescuing the company from near bankruptcy, and is now revered as one of the greatest innovators of our time. The picture that you saw before was Walt Disney. That's Steve Jobs. But Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper, with an editor claiming he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. If you know Walt Disney is responsible for founding Disney, a company that is arguably one of the most imaginative entertainment powerhouses of our time. Lion, pick up your pen. The final question is when. But this is not really a question, it's a declaration. When you pick up your pen, you are acting in direct defiance to the enemy's plans for your life. Throughout history, as you all can see, there have been so many greats that could have allowed the boxes others placed them in to become their home. Everyone is not going to see your greatness, but you have to be resolute in your belief of yourself. If God created you, it's for a purpose, and your story is not meant to be written by anyone else. So again, Lion, pick up your pen. I want you all to say it with me for the final time, because remember earlier I said that this is a declaration. This is a promise to yourself that when you walk out these doors, you will take control of your story. Lion, 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 pick up your pen. Pick up your pen. Thank you.